Okay, so when we talk, remember when I told you when we were talking about awareness in this class, awareness also is how that internal awareness. One of that is that intuition. Okay? Another way we're going to talk about awareness in here is how we are interacting with potential conflict, okay? And either positively or negatively helping the situation. And often we are not aware of how we do that. And sometimes how we think we're going to react and how we really do act under stress is two very different things too. And it is important to become aware of that. Okay? But, so we're going, now that conflict, that could be someone coming up in an interview. This is a predator asking you for the time or some type of interview in the target selection process, right? Or it could be, and one of the beauties I think of this exercise we're going to do here is you will see this plays out in a lot of other types of conflict as well. This could be, again, this could be an interview for more, potential assault, but this could be bullying or harassment in the workplace or whatever else, right? It applies to a lot of types of aggression, if you will. And so against that conflict, we tend to interact in one of like three main archetypes. Okay? And so the easiest way to go over this or discuss it is really just to role play and let you see it in action. Okay, so Chloe has volunteered. Okay, so if I can have you stand about right here so you're on camera, please. Okay, perfect. All right, so now the scenario is this. Chloe, and remember my alter ego for the class is Bubba, right? So Chloe and Bubba are at the company office party, right? And with every drink, Bubba thinks he's getting better looking. And so, he's checking her out. And ladies, you know when that guy's gonna come up and talk to you, don't you? I mean, you've got some intuition going, you can sense it's coming, right? So she's not surprised, but again, you know when that's happening or whatever else, right? So, pop quiz, it might go something like that. There's gonna be a pop quiz, so pay attention, okay? Hey, Chloe! Hey, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Oh, hey, we were wondering, did you get that promotion?
No.
Oh, shit, man, I'm so sorry. All right, COVID hug. All right, okay, but anybody feel just kind of slime just looking at that? Okay, so what went wrong?
Kept looking down and she wasn't confident.
Okay, so no eye contact. What else?
She leaned away like you're going like look at her.
Okay, even before that, but yes, you're absolutely right, but even before that, even before the further shrink, body was shrunken and withdrawn. Body language was again, also, okay, negative. She's kind of fidgeting and nervous acting a little bit. Again, doesn't suggest confidence. Okay, what else? Yeah, like it was very timid, right? And she was, but she really wasn't talking to me, right? Again, it wasn't a competent answer either, right? Okay, so yeah, those are the big three, okay? So we would call this archetype too passive, and does it establish a boundary? No, absolutely not, okay? And so sometimes we are a little too passive, right? Not always, but ladies, sometimes it's the whole, don't make a scene, be nice, that type of thing. Sometimes we get into that a little bit, right? And again, not always. Ladies do the opposite too, but still, right? Sometimes there's that going on. There is, but not, it could be previous trauma. Actually, the program that we're doing is called Fast Defense, right? The founder of the program will tell you, like, basically he was beat up, not just your normal brother, like, rivalry stuff, like his brother beat the shit out of him, abuse type stuff. And if he fought back, it was more sport, the beatings lasted longer. He learned that the bear defense, play dead, the beating stops him. So he went passive from abuse, right? And he had to rewire that and everything, okay? We all go passive when mom uses the middle name, right? Yes, ma'am. Right, everybody does positive passive there, right? Okay, so we've been conditioned around for different reasons, right? So we have that passive response. Now, but keep in mind, right, that as we said before, how should I say? The zeitgeist on campus is not always, on most campuses, is not always conducive with a proactive self-defense mindset. Okay? So, and I taught at DePaul for several years, and I stopped about a couple of years ago. And one of my last classes there, we did the same exercise in the self-defense class there. We got to hear it. I'm like, what went wrong? I know. The girl's very confident in her answer. Okay. He clearly did not recognize that she was uncomfortable with his presence. Okay. First of all, do you think this class is about fixing all the problems of the world? Is there any class that is going to fix all the stupid men in the world? No, I don't think there's going to be a class for that. Right? Okay. But more importantly, much more importantly, oh hell yes, he understood he was making her uncomfortable. That is the fucking point. Assume the position again. Predator-prey relationship. If this is a mountain lion, where is lunch? Does that look, you can see how that might attract the mothers of the world? Does it look like it feels very good? No, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel very good, does it? Check that out, right? Don't do that. Okay? Right? Okay. So again, for one reason or another, sometimes we're a little too passive. So let's try this again. Chloe, don't be passive. Okay? Here we go. Take 2. Hey, Chloe!
Hey, looks like you had too many drinks.
Well, just a couple, but hey, we were wondering, did you get that promotion?
No? Why'd you bring it up? We're at a fucking party.
I just asking, you know, to be a bitch. I mean, I didn't know.
Who are you calling a bitch?
You're a bitch. I just asked you a question.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, bitch. What the fuck is your
you.
problem? Okay. Right? Was she passive? No, she's not passive. Did she help the situation? No. What went wrong that time? So we would call this archetype too aggressive, right? And you may have a seat because I'm going to go on it for a while, okay? So we would call that archetype too aggressive, but more specifically, how did it manifest? How'd that go wrong?
She could end up getting hurt because like she's pissing him off.
Well, yes, but like, how did it escalate? What went wrong? How did it escalate to that situation? Yeah, okay, so swearing never helps situation, right? Okay? Let's go back. Even when Bubba was halfway over here, what was she doing? She kind of had the hand on the hip, right? I can't really do this, but she had kind of that attitude going on, right? You know, halfway, she's like, you know, like, how drunk are you? She's kind of antagonistic before I even got to her, right? I was asking her a question, right? Well, so what was her body language like?
More confident than before.
What's that?
More confident than the first one.
Well, it was, but it was almost 2. It was aggressive, right? So again, it wasn't shrunken, but it was again even more aggressive. It was had her tone, the way she spoke to me, antagonistic, right? Maybe you didn't notice, but without the mask, I could see his eyes, but kind of had that scowl going on in the eyes or whatever else, right? So Bubba's put off, right? Even from the get-go, and you see how then, right? And then came support and everything else. Came back to me. I was just asking a question, whatever. So she escalates, and then Bubba's got to escalate, and then in the end, even towards the end, what did she do? Anybody notice? She actually encroached on my space. Right? She came at me like this. Is there anywhere in the world where this is agreed? No. She came in my space. So what does that make me have to do? Right? And so this is not exclusively, again, I can get plenty of females to get aggressive too, right? But this is the guy monkey dance at the bar, right? We talked about before. You know the script. We puff up on each other. We get each other shoved. There's a shove. There's a shove back, right? That type of thing. And each of us is neither one's going to back down. Each one's got to do this a little bit more in the dance, right? And you see it escalate because, I mean, again, I gotta ask her. I mean, I got friends over here. I can't say, yeah, she's so cute. That was so embarrassing, right? Bubba's not gonna take that from that bitch. Maybe Bubba goes out to his car and comes back with a gun. Maybe Bubba waits for her until after the party. Maybe Bubba's the type to just passively aggressively ruin her career at work next week. Do you know what Bubba is capable of? No. Right? Now, I've kind of already warmed you up to this a little bit, but if you haven't noticed, we're going to say a few words here in the next couple of classes when we're doing our boundary setting or whatever. I will verbally assault you. It's part of the process. I think you've heard them all before. If there's something new to you, you can catch me after class. I'll explain it to you. But I think you've heard it before. But still, Predator's going to use it for one of two things. One, to basically shock you into submission, right? Or two, to basically push your buttons to get you to fly off the handle, right? Or to manipulate the situation one way, shape, or form. Maybe it's to get a hook. And what I mean by a hook, right, is sometimes Bubba needs a justification to do what he really kind of wanted to do all along, but he needs a little more, he needs justification for it or whatever else, right? So, beating up someone who is 100 pounds lighter than me and 2 inches above a hobbit, right, is not, right? Is that a trigger? Right, so anyway, but, right, that big deal, right? That bitch is disrespecting me and put her in her place. Sounds better in Bubba's world. That makes sense? So sometimes we need a hook. They need a hook. And it's pretty easy to get a hook when you're looking for a hook. What are you looking at? I asked you a question, motherfucker. What are you looking at? You got a problem? Huh? Why do you keep looking at me? Right? So again, it's pretty easy to kind of just find something to get, right? Actually, see there, most people go nothing, right? And I'm like, oh, so now I'm fucking nothing, right? So again, it's pretty easy to find a hook when you're looking for one or whatever else, right? I didn't even set this up, but one time I had a guy go right about this time in the classes, how does this apply to me or something like that? And I'm like, you tell me I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in my own class, you care to me, I mean, I got right, and everything else, whatever, it was a hook, right? I have a way to get there. Then I was like, see how easy that was? And everybody's like, oh, that was a joke, that was funny, okay. We were just playing, okay. So again, it's pretty easy to find a hook when you're looking for one, right? So we can't give them something like that. Now the other part to that, and we've kind of alluded to this before, the important part of this is we have to, at this point, understand this concept of triggers from a self-defense standpoint, right? And I know triggers is a big thing, big important thing in society today and everything else, and yes, some people have gone through some real shit in life, and it's really unfortunate that, and maybe that might be part of the reason why you are here, right? And stuff like that. So I can try to empathize with that and everything else, but understand from a self-defense standpoint, triggers is a you problem. Because Bubba is going to use them against you. The more easily you are triggered, the more easily you are manipulated. Okay? So we have to recognize those things that set us off and are buttons that can push us. And basically give them the hook, give them the control that they need. Okay? And if we're able to not take the bait, that sends a very different message. I'm in control, I know what's going on here. Okay? In terms of deterrence, that sends a completely different message. But we have to understand what those are. And they're different, and they can be different for different people or whatever else. A lot of ladies, it's the C word. That's a big one, right? Could be a racial thing. Could be an LGBTQZ, how many more letters there are now thing. Did that get you? Right? So, and I got, that's like, I hate to say it's the trendy one, but that's the one that's really like big. I mean, you know, again, that's the one that is certainly on public consciousness now, right, or whatever. It's, I did this training. Some of the high school students like, hey, you need to do this at our high school before when everybody goes to college or whatever. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, it's a great program. We can do it. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm like, you know, make sure they understand what's going on and everything else and stuff. And we set it up, and I contact the advisors at the high school that they're going through all that type of stuff. And so I get there, and they're like, oh, you guys are going to be in the library. They explain to you, you understand how this is going to work, right? I'm verbally assaulting them. This is not, right? This is not very library appropriate type. Oh, no, it'll be fine, right? So we go to the library, and there's like chess club over in this corner and something else going on over there. And I'm like, you realize what we're doing here, right? This is, oh, no, I'll be fine. I'm like, okay, so we're doing this, and fuck this, fuck that, no one's that, and not, right? Apparently people scream, fuck you, fuck that, and all in the library all day long, no one really cares, right? Call the kids back. I mean, like even in the students, like again, I'm sitting there, fuck you, fuck that, we're doing the role play like me and Chloe were, everybody just sitting there, said that word, everybody, well, you can't do that, people come running around stacks, right? What's going on, right? It's just a word. I understand that word can be really, really, you know, it can mean a lot to people, okay? But what you gonna tell Bubba he can't use that word? Are you gonna stop Bubba from using that word? Right? Yeah. So we gotta understand it from the perspective of where we're doing it here. Okay? Other triggers. Anybody in a sorority? No one? In a sorority here? Well, you're all freshmen, aren't you? Okay. Other classes like no freshmen. Don't join Alpha Phi. That's the slut house. Don't go. My wife was anyway, so but like I can get a rise. I can get a rise out of some of you when if you go to the house that they have the reputation, which I guess that could be anyone. I mean, you know what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be, but if that becomes offensive to you, right? I've gotten plenty of girls triggered over that. There are moms. I can cuss up one side and down the other, nothing. Your daughter has nice tits. Mama bear comes out. Completely different person. And rightfully so. But you understand, right? It needs to trigger with kids or something like that. Okay? So let me give you an example why this is so important. So this happened in Indianapolis, and you don't get the little news heading didn't really get the full story. So I'm taking a little artistic license, but I'm willing to bet you I'm filling in the blanks pretty damn close, right? So guy's driving with his like 10, 11, 12-year-old son in the passenger seat, and they're on like Keystone and Meridian, one of the major thoroughfares or whatever else. And this carload of teenagers come flying off 465, cut him off, nearly wrecked. I mean, he's got to slam on the brakes or whatever else, don't see him, whatever else. And so you got road rage going on, and then he came in on the kid's side, right? So they came in on the emerge from the right. So you probably got a little Papa Bear going on top of the road rage or whatever, now they're right in front of him. And you know, it's stop and go. They're probably doing other dumb things and leave the traffic, only get caught by the next light, and still ends up right behind him. You know what I'm talking about, right? And so, but this is percolating, this is festering, this is, you know, for the next couple of lights, it's just boiling until finally he can't take it anymore. He's going to do society a favor. He's going to teach these kids a lesson before they kill somebody, right? Now the kids are probably just, and I don't know at what point in my life I turned into, you know, you kid teenage drivers. I don't know when that happened. Like, get off my yard. I don't know when that happened. Probably like 23. I'm an old soul. But basically, right? I don't. But they're oblivious. They probably didn't know they did anything wrong. They didn't know whatever. They're just out having a good time. This lunatic is suddenly at a stoplight screaming at them and ripping open their car door screaming at them. Passenger gets in the glove box, shoots dad dead while his son watches him die from the car behind. Then they go to jail. How many lives got fucked up over that trigger? Another example, not from Indiana. Guy's got his toddler daughter in the backseat. Okay? Guy in front of him at the light or whatever doesn't go when he's supposed to go, whatever else. Guy does this out the sunroof. The guy in front of him, as he skips off his meds, gets out, comes back, shoots dad in the head. We talked about last class. It's actually pretty hard to die from bullet wounds nowadays. Modern medicine is really good. You have about 5% chance, okay, of dying from getting shot, right? So he lives. I mean, you got plastic and skull and everything else, but he lives. Right? They put him back together. His ex-wife sues him for endangering the life of their daughter in the backseat. Now that is a bad day when you get shot and then turn around and get sued for getting shot. That is a bad day. But the real moral of the story for us is, as I said before, just because you understand your triggers doesn't mean Bubba understands his. And is this really worth it when you don't know? I joke, but I don't, right? One of my triggers is people who don't understand triggers. Right? Not that this happens all the time when I drive, but when it does, I want to follow them home. I'm like, you realize if I was crazy, I'd take this gun, I would shoot you dead in this driveway right now. If I was crazy, but I'm not. One of my triggers is people who don't understand triggers. I'll give you another example, and this kind of segues this into another important point. They're kind of related to this, but those of you online are not going to get my little finger map here, so follow along best you can. So, a couple of years ago, because this is when school let out, because I'm pretty sure they kind of, school had just let out, summer school had just let out in town, or whatever else. So I'm driving home, so, I've got to go around a block. I take a right turn on a block to go up to my road to my house or whatever. And I come around a block, and in the middle of the block, there's like a car that's getting towed or lifted up on a lift that hadn't, broke down or whatever else. So the car, basically, the truck's in the middle of the road, blocking the whole road. I'm not getting around. So that means I'm going to have to then go back down, and then go around a block so I can go around it and then head on to where I was going. Everybody follow me? Right? So I turn the corner and I see the block car. I'm like, what the hell? I'm fine. So I'm doing this number. I'm like looking around everywhere, making sure there's no one. There's not even anyone I can see, a block down or whatever else. So I start to make that 3-point turn, right? So I back up and I start to turn around. Well, meanwhile, as I'm doing that, someone else had come up and never mind, they didn't see me sideways in the road at this point. I had to be sideways in the road at this point, or the obstruction behind me, but they keep coming. And so they just keep coming. So when I turn around and start turning right to go this way, they keep encroaching on me to the point where then I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna hit them. I have to jump up on the sidewalk on the left-hand side to not hit them because they crowded me so much in the middle of my turn, right? And they weren't, like I said, they weren't just there the whole time or whatever, right? And so as they're driving forward, still driving forward, as I'm basically on the sidewalk, right? There's two kids, again, they just got out of school. Passenger is leaning out from the waist out, is leaning out the window doing one of these numbers to me and doing this. And I look at the driving guys like, bro. And I gotta tell you, I was so triggered. Right? I was so triggered. What triggered me was their utter and complete lack of self-awareness. And I'm not just talking about the fact that when you're driving grandma's minivan, you really shouldn't use the word bra. Okay? In fact, you should never use the word bra unless you're in the weight room making fun of other people who use the word bra. Right? But aside from that's a different story. Okay? Dude that's leaning out of the car like this. Right? The only reason he is alive today is because I was magnanimous enough not to jerk my wheel to the right and cut him in half. He is only alive today because I deemed it so. Or if I had a kid with me, I probably would be like, open your door, now, do it! Whack him. Probably been less lethal, but probably more fun. Right? Knock him out of the car or whatever else. Now, I guess I really don't deserve a gold star for letting him live. But the moral of the story is, again, you don't know what Ben was capable of, and there are plenty of other people that might have liked that impulse control too and would have ripped that wheel. We do a lot of stupid shit and expose ourselves and our vulnerability-wise, safety-wise, counting on the other person not to be as dumb as us. And that's a really big gamble. That's a stupid gamble, isn't it? I'll give you a more pertinent case right now. I can't even keep straight of whose names or whatever, and again, I'm not getting into the social issues and the causes and all that type of stuff, but just purely a self-defense standpoint of this. Which one was who was the protester that got shot in Austin? I can't even remember everybody's name anymore. But the one in Austin, I think, was the one who was carrying a gun around, carrying an assault rifle around. There's video footage of him earlier that day being interviewed and saying, well, why you don't worry about, having carrying a rifle around all over the place? And he's like, and he basically said something to the effect that, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but the gist was, well, I know that none of those pussies on the other side are going to do anything about it. So he pointed his gun in a car that had someone in it that shot back and did something about it. They died. Because he pointed a gun at someone who could do something about it. He was smelling on those pussies to excuse him for breaking the law and threatening them with lethal force. Now again, whether the cause is just or whatever, completely irrelevant. Point guns at people with guns, bad things are going to happen. Right? But he was counting on something else. Not only just trying to be a martyr, we do that a lot. Hopefully not to that extreme. But we do things like that a lot. And we gotta stop. Right? We gotta pay attention. Triggers, being manipulated, is how we end up that far off the ledge. A lot of times. Right? And we gotta be careful. Okay? We gotta be aware of that. Okay, so meanwhile, back at the party. This is a long party, it's a rager. Come on, come back up there, Chloe. Right? All right, so, perfect, right there. Okay, so, take 3 one more time, here we go. Hey, Chloe, how you doing? Hey, we were wondering, did you get that promotion?
No.
Oh, shit, I am so sorry.
No, it's fine.
No, that's bullshit. Bob is an asshole. No, you so deserve that. Right,
Hey, look, we have buffalo wings.
What?
I love them.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
I'll see you Monday.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks. She's so hot. All right, good job. Give her a round of applause. Good job. Again, for 5 minutes practice, she really did a good job. Thank you for volunteering. She did a good job for 5 minutes practice, right? So who was in control that time? She was. It was different. Break it down. What are the key things we've been talking about? Perfectly said. Confident but not aggressive. Right? So the term we use, the opportunity term we use is assertive. Okay? But not aggressive. Right? More specifically, how did it manifest?
When you were going to hug her, she kept pushing your face.
Well, let's come back to that, but you're absolutely right. But let's come back to that. Even before that, though. Did you make eye contact? Okay. Did you talk to me? But was it antagonistic? It was confident, but not aggressive, right? It was pleasant. Was there a hook there? Was there anything Bubba did way she handled me? No. Okay? Body language, head up, shoulders up, confident, but again, not aggressive. Right? Same thing. Bubble way in for the hug, and like you said, she used the force because of COVID, right? So she used the force, I think you guys figured out how that works, right? Right, so Bubba went in for the hug, she put her hands down, right, whatever, and then what did Bubba do? Try it again, right? So what does that say? It says, I don't care what you want, I want a hug, right? Your no doesn't mean no. At that point, she said, Bubba's got to go, squirrel, over there, right? Okay, so she found, and so she gave me an out. Now that's really powerful and helpful if we can do it. Not always possible, but it gives us a way for me to say things, right? I go back to what I see. She wanted me just, hot wings, right? Okay. Anybody see what she said? Anybody catch what she said at the end? See you Monday. Not see you later. Later's after I finish my wings. Monday. They're a little more definite now. Again, not every Bubba in the world is going to pick up on that subtle difference. Right? But right away, Bubba comes back, that tells you a little more, all right, what Bubba thinks about your boundaries and things like that. Right? Okay? But you see how it works. Our job is to establish that assertive archetype, okay? And possibly give them an out. Because keep in mind, right, if this is a predator, if this is an interview, it might be about directions or the time or whatever it is, but the conversation you're really having is, you're a predator, I know that you're a predator, you know that I know that you're a predator, but we're going to pretend this is about the time instead. I mean, that's the conversation we're really trying to have. Okay? So again, let me say face, leave, whatever else. Pretend it's about the time. I just think it's the time. It's okay. So we need that assertive archetype to be able to establish a boundary. Okay? So we're going to take that and let's say we're walking down the street and Bubba comes up and asks you for the time or asks you for the directions and stuff like that. Now, this is, as we said, could be an interview. Or it could just be someone who needs the time. Right? You don't really know. And society dictates, right? You really can't go overboard. If someone asks you for the time, you can't be like, it's 1:15. Like, I mean, you don't do that, right? So we have to kind of have a measured response. So to help us kind of match that threat level that is in front of us, if you will, we're going to use Cooper's color code, which you might not know it's Cooper's color code, but you know the yellow, the orange, the red code. Everybody knows that? Yeah, most people? Okay? The condition that most people, or people don't, or